Hey, everybody, it's the right therapist on your Friday, the 13th. My goodness, it's the middle of May, and we are in the midst of a glorious spring here in North Carolina. But there is some troubling news that has come across. We now have on our hands a teenage mental health pandemic, or I would say epidemic, of depression and anxiety and increased suicides. The New York Times released an article, I've got a link to it in the show notes, about what is happening with our teenage population having rolled out of COVID like we did. And the news is really scary, y'all. I'm not going to read the article to you. You can read it for yourself. But what we are experiencing with our teenagers these days is not encouraging. We have increased suicides, we have increased anxiety and increased depression. And we don't even know the real numbers because we're only seeing these huge increases by what is being reported at emergency rooms. When you take your kid to the emergency room for mental health, they are then referred to behavioral health and usually kept inpatient for several days in order to be evaluated, in order to receive group therapy and individual therapy, and to probably get on a battery of medication, psychotropic medication to treat whatever it is that they are dealing with, anxiety, depression, maybe bipolar, etc. So what is happening is that because there aren't enough beds available in the inpatient units for behavioral health, these kids are sitting in the ER for days. And the ER is no place for a child. And if they're under 18, most places they're considered a child. The ER is no place for these kids to sit. And we really have a problem on our hands because there aren't enough beds. There aren't enough pediatric hospitals or behavioral health hospitals with enough beds to house the number of kids who are coming in. We saw this coming because of the lockdown during COVID. We've seen this coming. The numbers have been actually on a steady increase, believe it or not, for the last 12 years. Which oddly coincides with the dawn of social media, believe it or not. And so predictably, these kids are digital natives, technology natives. They've never known life without technology. And so the online bullying, the online comparison trap that a lot of these females find themselves in, and yeah, dirty little secret here. It's not a secret. It's mostly females that have been presenting with increased rates of suicidality. So this comparison trap that these girls get into on social media is just not mentally and emotionally healthy. The increased online presence of teenagers has also resulted in reduced physical activity. That results in increased weight gain. So you're seeing this feedback loop for these kids that nobody's going to say that online presence or being of the digital age is causing this to happen, because no, we wouldn't want to say that, would we? But we see inextricable links. Let's just say that. So what can you do? Because if you've got a child who is now 15, 16, 17, the last thing you're going to do is wrestle them to the floor and take their phone out of their hand, because it's actually an extension of their arm or their hand probably at this point. It is for my son. My son is 18 and he's on his phone nonstop. But I will tell you a few things that you can do in order to maybe keep the contact with your child better, more frequent, more engaged, more organic, rather than how was school today, how was work today, What did you do today? Just the peppering of questions that we usually do for older teenagers that result in fine, it was okay, or boring, right? The monosyllable answers that we always get. So with my child and with the kids that I work with, and on the whole, I only work with a handful of kids, and I prefer older teenagers at that. I found a few things that work, and really this is mostly what's worked with my own child. And what we see in the studies that show enhanced parent involvement results in reduced suicidality and reduced mental health episodes among youth. Of course it would. The more involved you are as a parent, the better off that child is going to be. So one, and here's what you can do. One, kiss your baby, kiss your child, touch your child. We are wired for connection. I've said it on this program a thousand times. I think I have anyway. We are wired for connection, and kids need to be touched. Kids need to be hugged and kissed. They may bristle about it, right? Or tell you, stop, right? Stop, don't touch me, right? Do it anyway. Do it anyway. Touch their hand, touch their shoulder, right? Give them a hug. Hug before they leave the house. Did you know that if you hug and kiss your child before they leave the house, if they're driving age, they will actually be, studies show, less aggressive driving, which is what we want, right? We don't want them to be aggressive drivers, but studies show if you hug and or kiss your child on the way out the door that he or she leaves for school, then they will be less aggressive. So give that a try. Kiss that child whenever you can. Kiss them on their face. Kiss them on their third eye. Their third eye is considered what is located between the eyebrows, just about 2 inches up from the bridge of the nose or so. That third eye is what is regarded as the eye of perception. And when you kiss that third eye, it kind of gives, I don't know, kind of a supercharge to that child's brain and emotional center. So go ahead and give that child a kiss and or a hug. 30-second hugs, I've talked about that on the program before. 30-second hugs increase immunity. They increase the connection hormone oxytocin, right, which is the bonding hormone between humans. 30-second hugs improve immunity. Maybe I said that earlier. If so, edit that out, Kyle. And it also brings down blood pressure, right? It regulates breathing. So it is an overall stress reducer if you can get in a 30-second hug. How many 30-second hugs can you get in per day? How many hugs and kisses can you get in per day with your child? If you can't remember the last time this happened with your child, that's your clue that you need to do it like Italy. Italy does an average of 7 kisses per day per human being over there in Italy. So let's try and be more Italian, shall we? And try and hug and kiss a little more like those Italians, all right? So that's one thing that you can do. Kiss your baby, hug your baby. Number 2, what can you do? True story for me. I sent my child on a trip through outwardbound.org. There's a link for it in the show notes. Outwardbound is a fabulous organization that takes kids on guided wilderness tours, all right? Guided wilderness tours, completely safe, completely supervised, and completely on the up and up. Outwardbound has been around for, 50 or more years, I want to say. They're an incredibly established organization, and it teaches kids how to work as a team, how to be self-reliant, and guess what they do when you get there? They put away their phones for the entire expedition. So the entire expedition is done with no phones whatsoever. I sent my child on an Outward Bound expedition. I read great reviews on the program. Now, Many of you, I talk about my child on this program all the time. I adore my child. My child has not been obstinate or have a conduct problem, and I adore my child. And I felt like Outward Bound would be a great experience for him. When he came back, I will tell you, he went for a 7-day trip, or 9-day trip, I'm sorry, out in Western North Carolina on the Appalachian Trail out in Western North Carolina. He came back, he said, Mom, that's the best thing that I've ever done. And we're talking about a kid, I've been a single mom for, a number of years, okay? And this kid has been in all kind of camps. He's been in all kind of day camps. He's been on sleepaway trips. He's been on all kinds of stuff that I could get him into to have some good experiences. And he said that Outward Bound was by far the best thing that he's ever done. So there's a link in the show notes. If you can possibly swing it financially, do a GoFundMe page, sell the Nintendo. I don't care what it takes to, crowdsource some funding to get your kid on an Outward Bound expedition. But it is well worth every penny, every single penny. I'm telling you, when I got this kid back after this trip with Outward Bound, he was, I don't know, it's like he matured 3 years in 9 days. I didn't have to beg him or nag him to do any kind of chore. He just jumped in and did it. He even has talked about since then his love-hate relationship with his phone. He commented after the trip was done how not being on social media was such a break. It was such a gift. He really appreciated it. He didn't lose his mind. He wasn't missing friends. He made new friends, really good friends on the trip. And it paid off in spades, y'all. So I would definitely encourage you to explore outwardbound.org for your kids and see if you can't get them on a trip. The third thing that you can do to help your kids or help your girls with your, if you think that they are managing anxiety and depression, start looking for a therapist now and see if you can't get them in with a good therapist. It will take some shopping. Psychology.com, psychologytoday.com has a database of providers. I invite you to shop those providers, pick 3 that look good to you or that you think your child might like, and make an appointment with every single one of them. It's kind of like dating. You just kind of have to pick your favorite and go to each one, see which one you like, and stick with that therapist. Get your child in to start talking with someone. If you can't talk to your child or your child's not talking to you, do not wait. All right. I'm a therapist, and therapy sometimes is hard to afford or difficult because it's not one of those benefits for insurance that is easily affordable. You can go on betterhelp.com. You can do some of these online telehealth connections that are typically of lower cost, and they do that on purpose so that they can serve more people because they understand the cost prohibitiveness sometimes of therapy, because it really depends on your plan whether it's covered or not outside of substance abuse and recovery treatment programs. So look into therapy. Do it sooner than later. If you can get your kid in, right now therapists are covered up with clients, and an appointment may take 4 to 6 weeks to get into, but get them in. In the meantime, all right, just try and talk to your child, touch your child, hug your child, kiss your child, and get them involved. Get them involved in something that is not phone or technology related, okay? That outwardbound.org is the place to go. All right, guys, that's short and sweet here this week. 3 things you can do to address the mental health of our youth and start hugging and kissing everybody today. Be more Italian. Go ahead and get the affection going with your family. All right, you've got the right therapist here, a division of conservative take. All right, thanks for watching. Stay tuned for next week. Bye.